Trigger warning. And y'all know I don't do clickbait. This sat on this baby. And y'all, this is not the only case. We have to get into it. What is happening? I done already told y'all. This is a trigger warning, honey. This case is taking us to Indiana. And at first, it looked like it was going to take us to Michigan. I'm like, oh my God, we can't put this on Michigan again. But she was picked up in Michigan. This is about a horrible, horrible foster mother, okay? So on April 2024, a 10-year-old boy named Dakota lost his life when his foster mother, a 340-pound woman, propped herself upon him for 5 whole minutes. I told you I don't do clickbait. Now, she claimed that he had run away from the house that morning, okay? And when she brought him back, he laid down on the lawn and refused to go inside. That's when she sat on his upper, close to around here, to his neck, while she called his caseworker. Now, listen, I told y'all what she weighing in as, right? There are grown adults who can't handle this. And you thought it was smart to do this. And y'all, this is the thing. This is not the only case. We got to go into it more. What is happening, right? Anyway, the doorbell camera footage caught it all. A 20-second clip of her literally being propped up on this baby. And you heard him screaming and then fighting for air, and then it was silence, right? I write monsters or create monsters for a living. One of my most craziest books is Raunchy, about a little girl who grew up to be a mother monster. So I visualized this to kind of like to bring awareness to it. Even I couldn't bring myself to watch the clip. And again, my mind goes there when I'm creating these characters because I want y'all to see it up close. I couldn't bring myself to watch it. The doorbell footage caught it all. It was a 20-second clip of her, like I said, sitting on the neck, and she told the police that she thought he was faking it. When he finally lost his battle, she ended up calling 911, right? Horrified and shocked. I bet you was. And here's where it get even more heartbreaking. Just 30 minutes before that, he had gone to a neighbor's house and was like, can y'all take care of me? And we are really hard on the neighbors, although we should not be. By we, normally I don't run my babies under the bus, but you know, we always want to know what the neighbor's seeing. Like for me, I tend to say something if I see something that's outrageous. But a lot of people don't want to get involved, specifically when it comes to people's kids, you know, which is why it's always good to have some kind of video footage or whatever before you even talk to a child. But in this case, he did go to the neighbors directly. But the neighbor said they didn't see any injuries. They didn't see any reason to believe that he was under duress outside of him running for fear. The baby was right. When first responders showed up, they found he was unresponsive with bruises on the neck and all up in here. He was flown to the children's hospital, but 2 days later, he was taken off support. He just was not coming back. The official cause of death, mechanical asphyxia. The manner of death, homicide. Again, we have to find out why this is happening. This is not the only case. I'm trying to research it because, you know, I like to this is why I don't jump on stuff when it first happens. I need to know like to the end because I come at it from a psychological point. I want to know why things are happening. I'm different when it comes to foster mothers though. It's very clear that something may be wrong with this woman, right? And y'all know my stance, that if we give mothers the right support, perhaps they don't, like in my book Raunchy, they don't take that out on their children. But we're not paying foster mothers, are we? To do this kind of stuff. We're not doing that because I spent the majority of my life in my teenage years in foster care. I know that they pay more for the troubled ones. So let's say little Dakota had an issue. I'm not saying that he did. She would have gotten more money because he did. And this is what she does. So there's a shortage of foster homes, which is why if you have it in you and you are called to creating actual homes where you can take care of more than one foster child and you have somebody there running it, is so needed. And they're so in different states, depending upon where you are, they will really look out for you. But anyway, to get back into it, I just went off on a standard because it's like, what are we doing? Jennifer Wilson was arrested 2 months later in Michigan. This is why Michigan was about to get it, after a license plate reader flagged her car. So in October 2024, she pled guilty to reckless unaliving. And in January 2025, she was sentenced to just 6 years behind bars, with 1 year suspended to serve on her probation. And let's not forget that Dakota was only in her home for about a month. 30 days. That's all it took to take this baby away. Like, I had to keep looking and looking and looking. I'm like, this cannot be that it was that quick. And Wilson wasn't just fostering Dakota. She had 3 other foster kids in her home. Remember, I was telling y'all there's an issue with children being displaced. I've covered plenty of cases, like the Kelly Bryant case, the Chantel Gardner case, Channy B, with the Kelly Bryant case. If you haven't looked at my video, first of all, subscribe to my channel because I cover stuff like this, but not just covering it. We go into why it's happening. But in the Kelly Bryant case, she left 3 of her 4 children in the house alone for 5 years. And they had family members, but what if they didn't? They would have needed foster care. And then the Chantel B case, or the Chantel Gardner case rather, she lost 1 of her 2 children. One of them was unalive underneath of a dresser. Had they not had family members, I don't know where they would go. So you need foster parents, but we don't need them like this. Okay, so one of Dakota's former foster dads said all the boy needed when he was upset was a bear hug. So I guess he's trying to acknowledge that he could be a little feisty. Then he'd cry for a minute and then melt into your arms. So I don't care. If you don't have the skills necessary to handle problem children, then why are you getting the check? I'm not sure if it's the same in Indiana. I know in Maryland, if you have issues and you're dealing with troubled kids, you get more money. So you're getting the bag, but you're not getting the understanding on how to deal with this kind of things. Now, y'all know we go into the reasons. I take it from a psychological point because I want to know why this is happening so it continue not to happen. For foster mothers, I don't know if I mentioned this already, there are certain pet peeves I have. I can't stand people that's ungrateful. When you do something for them and they ungrateful because I don't got to do nothing for you. I can't stand people talking in the movie theater. And I also can't stand bad kids who are like just really bad and the people are not taking care of them. I told you, love the kids, I do. But if you got your kids all over the place and they messing up your car and all that, I don't really go for that. And then foster mothers. I think I said 3, so maybe 4. Bad foster parents, because you should not be getting paid for your inability to raise kids. This is not an easy job. And I understand that, having been in foster care a lot. But then you should not be doing it. But y'all, let's get into the other cases that are just like this. So I'm researching this because I'm trying to figure out what's going on. You know, I want to make sure I got accurate information. And I'm looking at the comments, which I always do, because this is where you find all your juice. And this person, I believe Dominique Unique, is even worse. This happened to me, and she was a foster parent, and her husband is a local school official. Somebody else said, Wanda, I'm rarely shocked by things like this. Somebody said a child murder only gets 6 years. I can think of a few kids who might be worth it. I'm not really sure what that means. It got creepy. Then this person right here says, when I was younger, my pediatrician had a large nurse that would sit on my brother and I to keep us from moving while giving us vaccines. I don't even want to say that word. You know, you get flagged for that. Like, somebody else came. In 1st grade, a heavy-set teacher did this to me, and she would also lock me in a storage closet. My parents switched schools. She never got in trouble. But that wasn't it, y'all. I'm thinking, okay, maybe we one and done. Nope. Woman gets life sentence for sitting on and a girl. Okay. Pensacola, Florida. A Florida woman who has been sentenced to life in prison for killing unaliving a baby or a 9-year-old cousin sitting on her as a form of punishment, reports that 66-year-old Veronica Green Posey was sentenced Friday after jurors convicted her of first-degree unaliving. Prosecutors say Dorica Lindsay had suffered horrific by this woman and Lindsay's adoptive parents, James and Grace Smith. Officials say Posey sat on Derica for more than the same amount of time in October 2017, causing the girl to lack, what's needed to breathe. Again, 320 pounds. Listen, y'all know how I am. I still believe that something has to be wrong for you to be able to do this to a child. But this is where I draw the line. I don't care. Meaning that I'm not as sympathetic when this is happening, because you really have to go through a program. In most states, you have to go through a program in order to be able to get approved for it. I don't know how extensive these programs are. Like, this happened in Florida. I don't know how extensive it is like in Indiana or what have you. But still, what are we doing? It just made me very angry. So I always go back to this, right? I say to myself when I'm saying some stuff like this, so that I won't be so angry, what are we going to do about it? I think people are needed to be really start stepping up and making noise. Like, really start making noise and stuff. By that I mean, if you see something, really start saying something, because you will be surprised how that may be the only thing to help a baby in a situation. Because in the Kelly Bryant case, the neighbor had saw, one of the neighbors came on TV and said that he saw, and perhaps if the window was open and he smelled a wolf or whatever, because they were saying this thing was so strong in her house that they had to wear masks and would be coughing because of the feces and all the stuff, raw food all over the house. So if that one neighbor said something, say, I don't know what's going on, I see some kids in there and something ain't right, then that could have probably alerted something. If these neighbors could have put the press on the situation just a little bit more, maybe this could have saved him. I think it's the neighbors, definitely the family members. When you don't talk to your babies in a while, or that somebody got a child and maybe they may have been having a bad time or a hard time, calling folks and saying something, because people are not well, and we're putting them in charge of our children. It has to stop.